Good morning, scholars, and welcome back to Learning with Mrs. Preby. Today we're working on a new nation, Lesson 5. Our learning goal for today is I can describe the connection between the first official flag of the United States and the 13 colonies. Yesterday, we were learning about the Declaration of Independence, and right now I have this short video. Oh, hold on.
Ooh, there's gonna be fireworks on the 4th of July. Red, white, and blue fireworks like diamonds in the sky. We're gonna shoot the entire works on fireworks that really show, oh yeah, we declared our liberty 200 years ago. In 1776, there were fireworks too. The original colonists, you know their tempers blew. Like Thomas Paine once wrote, it's only common sense that if a government won't give you your basic rights, you better get another government. And though some people tried to fight it, well, a committee was formed to write it. Benjamin Franklin, Philip Livingston, John Adams, Roger Sherman, Thomas Jefferson, they got it done. The Declaration of Independence in 1776. The Continental Congress said that we were free. Said we had the right of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Ooh, when England heard the news, they blew their stack. But the colonists lit the fuse, there'd be no turning back. They'd had enough of injustice now, but even if it really hurts, oh yeah, if you don't give us our freedom now, you're gonna see some fireworks. And on the 4th of July, they signed it, and 56 names underlined it. And now to honor those first 13 states, we turn the sky into a birthday cake. They got it done. The Declaration of Independence in 1776. Continental Congress said that we were free. Said we had the right of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
We hold these truths to be self-evident,
that all men are created equal,
that they are endowed by their Creator
with certain unalienable rights,
that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And if there's one thing that makes me happy, then you know that it's there's gonna be fireworks.
All right, that's what we learned yesterday, all about. I'm going to back it up. Yesterday we learned how the 13 colonies that are on the East Coast of the United States right here went to the Continental Congress, right, and they decided to declare George Washington would lead the troops. Okay, there's Benjamin Franklin. This was actually the second Continental Congress when they came back together after Benjamin Franklin came back to the United States. They wrote the Declaration of Independence. This man, Thomas Jefferson, wrote it because he was a really good writer. And here's the Declaration of Independence, and it was signed on July 4th, 1776. Okay? That's why we today celebrate the 4th of July. Our independence, our birthday, so to speak. as a nation. A woman also helped, and today's read aloud is about a woman named Betsy Ross. Listen carefully to find out what Betsy Ross did to help the new nation, the United States of America. Betsy and John Ross were newlyweds in 1773 when they opened their seamstress shop in the busy port town of Philadelphia. You just heard that John and Betsy were newlyweds. What two separate words do you hear in the word newlyweds or newlywed? Newly and wed. So what do you think that word means? That they were recently married, that they're newly married. Okay. A seamstress is a person who sews with needle and thread to make or repair things made of cloth. So right now, Mrs. Prevey is sewing masks for healthcare workers for COVID-19. So I'm not truly a seamstress, I'm a teacher, but I'm working as a seamstress on the side, I guess. John hung a sign outside their house at 239 Ark Street. The needle and spool of thread help people find their shop. So this picture right here helps people to know what they do inside that shop. At about the same time that Betsy and John were having a party to celebrate their wedding, patriots in Boston were having their own party, the Boston Tea Party. And you remember what that party was. The patriots used the sea as a giant teapot, dumping a shipload of tea into it. After that night, the colonies decided to work together to come up with a plan for answering the British demands for taxes. The meeting of representatives from all 13 colonies. The first Continental Congress was held in Ross's hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay. Midway between the New England colonies and the southern colonies, Pennsylvania was an important meeting place for colonists from all over. John and Betsy found it an exciting city in which to live, especially as the patriots began to gather there. John agreed with the patriot cause and wanted to break away from Great Britain. One night, Betsy's husband, John, died suddenly. It was very sad, and not yet 3 years since Betsy and John Ross had celebrated their wedding day. After John's death, Betsy decided to run the seamstress business on her own. So Betsy Ross was an independent woman. What does independent mean? And she did it on her own. She took a great pride in her work and even became well known throughout the colonies for her tiny, even stitches and beautiful cloth. When the men gathered in Philadelphia for meetings, they often ordered clothing from Betsy for their families at home. No order was too difficult for her. As war approached, Betsy was asked to make flags for the Pennsylvania Navy. The Continental Army, led by General George Washington. The Continental Army, led by General George Washington, flew one of her flags as well. There is a famous legend about Betsy Ross. A legend is a story that has been told through the years, or maybe which may or may not be true. According to this legend, Betsy sat in her shop, sewing and enjoying the light of a warm summer evening in June 1776, when she heard a loud rapping at her door. John's uncle, George Wash, stood before her with two other men. One of them was General George Washington himself. "Good evening, madam," he began. "We have an important job that needs to be done very quickly. As your husband, John, was a patriot, and you are known to be the best seamstress in the colonies, we feel that you are the right person to do the job." "Do come in," Betsy replied. "I will heat the kettle for tea, and you can explain to me your business." "Thank you kindly, dear Betsy," said George Wash, entering the house, "but I'm afraid we do not have time to sit down. As you may have heard, the Continental Congress is meeting here in Philadelphia for a second time. We are on our way to a meeting this very evening. Soon, quite soon, we will formally declare our independence from Britain. You must be ready with a new flag, for we will no longer want to fly the flag of the British King." Betsy stood still, listening to his words, and turned to General Washington, who had taken a scrap of paper from his coat pocket. "Miss Ross," General Washington said, "this is your chance to show your patriotism or love for your country, as your late husband John did. I have drawn a rough design sketch for the new flag. Please take a look and let me know what you think. We would like for you to sew our first flag of a new nation. 13 colonies united against Great Britain." Betsy took the slip of paper from General Washington's hand. In this sentence, the word slip means a small piece of paper. The word slip can also mean to lose your balance, especially on a slippery surface. On it was a square drawing of 13 stripes and 13 stars. Betsy nodded her head and then looked up into the general's face. Why did this design have 13 stripes and 13 stars? George Washington likes Betty's suggestion. Yes, she smiled. I will accept it. I will gladly make the flag. Might I just offer one suggestion, sir? George Washington liked Betsy's suggestion. A 5-pointed star instead of a 6-pointed star that he had drawn. Then the three visitors turned and left as quickly as they had come. Let's see. Let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Betsy set to work on the flag the very next day, taking down a red bolt, or a roll, of cloth from the shelf. She measured and cut 7 stripes of equal length and width. Then she did the same thing with a bolt of white cloth, this time cutting 6 stripes. She applied her famous even stitching along the edge of each stripe, first red, then white, until 13 stripes of alternating colors were joined together to form a large rectangle. Next, Betsy measured and cut out a square from a bolt of blue cloth and carefully stitched it into the upper left-hand corner of the flag. Days later, when she had completely finished, 13 white stars almost twinkled in a perfect circle against the dark blue background. When Betsy showed George Washington and his fellow representatives the finished flag, they were very pleased. They knew this flag would represent the new country well. This new flag stood as an important symbol to the men who gathered under it on the 4th of July when they voted to approve this letter of independence to King George. 1 year later, in July 1777, the Continental Congress officially adopted Betsy Ross's flag, the Stars and Stripes, as the national flag of the United States of America. Stars and Stripes is often used. Stars and Stripes is a name often used for the flag in our country. Why do you think that name would be used? Okay. So what type of work did Betsy Ross do? Now, she was a seamstress. The title of this read aloud is The Legend of Betsy Ross. What is a legend? It's a story that has been told and retold through many years. It may or may not be true. What did the first official flag of the United States look like? It had 13, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it's folded over. We can't see this one. It's not laying flat. But it had 13 alternating. They're alternating. They're red and white stripes. Okay? And 13 stars on a blue background here. Why were there 13 stripes and 13 stars? Right, for the 13 colonies, 1 star, 1 stripe for every colony. Good job. Let's read aloud. You heard. She applied her famous even stitchings along the length of each strip. First red, then white, until 13 stripes of alternating colors joined together to form a large rectangle. Say the word alternating. Alternating means to follow one after another, taking turns. This kind of looks like a pattern, right? They took turns one after the other. I love to eat my mother's lasagna, which has alternating layers of cheese, noodles, and sauce. All right, so let's take a look at what we have already learned. In the beginning, we learned that the Native Americans were here in our country first. And then we learned George Washington came over to the United States. He had his 3 ships. And then the Pilgrims came. And then we learned Christopher Columbus came here with his 3 ships. And then the Pilgrims. And what we've recently been learning is that the 13 colonies, let's see, they are Massachusetts. Remember, Maine used to be a part of Massachusetts. So Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Okay, these are the initials we use for each state there. Okay, and then we learned about the Boston Tea Party. And then we remember this guy right here, Paul Revere, right? And he went, the redcoats are coming. He informed them, the soldiers, the militia, that the redcoats, the British soldiers were coming. And then we learned about the Declaration of Independence. And now we are learning, here's a good picture of that flag. Let's take a look at this. These are the alternating stripes that we learned about. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Good. Notice that the first stripe is red. So it's red and then white and red and then white. These are alternating, right? And then we have our 13 stars for, originally there was 1 star for every colony. So let's count, starting with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's where we started, so we don't want to count it again. So there are 13. And that each star has 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each one has 5 points on it right there. And who was the lady that made this flag? Betsy Ross, good. I have right here this. If I was going to color this, if I wanted to make this, I would have to start up here. That's not gonna work. And I would have to color this one red. Oh, this is going to take a long time if I try to color it like this. So that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, today's task, you can either print this picture off and color it, or you can draw this picture. I hope you're doing a better job than I am. Let's see. There we go. So anyway, today's task is to make the original flag that showed the 13 colonies. You're going to use alternating red and white. Make sure your top one is red, and then white, and then red, and then white. And on the back, I would like you to draw another picture that has something that's alternating on it. So you're basically going to draw a pattern on the back of this picture. Then go ahead and take a picture of both sides and upload it to me on Class Dojo. Okay. So right here, today's learning goal was I can describe the connection between the first official flag of the United States and the 13 colonies. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you back again tomorrow.